Do I need to make him host?
No.
Well, JR, are you signed in as Pedro, or are you? We don't see you on the list.
And maybe because Pedro actually shared it with me. Can you see my screen in front of me?
Yeah, I can see your screen. That's working.
And as far as the audio, am I just going to go off of this, or do you want me to call back in on the number?
You need to call into the number for Zoom.
Got it.
So
Okay.
you and I are just chatting offline right now. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll call that in on my cell phone. Hold on.
Okay.
And I'll run the audio from there.
That didn't look good.
But no issues on the actual webinar itself?
No, we just need to make sure that we can hear you through the webinar.
Great. Well, I am going to call in now, and I will give everyone a good morning. Yeah, like let's, we're going to wait for 5 minutes or whatever, and just that way you can see if I can actually come through. Does that work?
Great.
Okay.
Let me hang up on the cell phone with you, and then we can text each other. Does that work? If anything comes up?
Yeah, whatever's best for you.
I can just hear an echo, so I'm just having a hard time.
Okay, yeah. I'll call in from my landline then, and then we can just text. Do you have my cell phone number?
Okay. Is that what you called me from, or no?
No, that's the desk line. My cell phone is area code 712.
Okay.
253.
Okay.
0457.
Great.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I'm calling in now.
All right, thanks.
You bet. Bye.
There are over 10 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We will be getting started in a few minutes.
Hi everyone, just checking in again. We will be starting in a few minutes. We'll be starting just 1 or 2 minutes after 9 a.m. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Thank you very much for your patience.
I'm just gonna get out of here. Oh. There's this weird echo. Okay. All right.
Good morning, everybody. If you can hear me, we're just doing a couple sound checks right before we get started. If you can hear me, if you would just type into the chat box that you can hear me, that would be great. Perfect. People can hear me. All right. And then I'm going to ask JR to speak to see if we can hear him.
Hello, this is JR. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep, everybody hears you as well. All right, great. Well, let's get started. 1 second. Great. Looks like all our technology is up and running. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Megan Joseph, and I'm the Executive Director of Rise Together. And we are really excited to welcome you to our Housing Affordability webinar series in partnership with Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California. Rise Together, for those of you who are new to us, is a 250-member coalition to cut poverty and create shared prosperity in the Bay Area through policy and systems change. And if you haven't joined us yet and want more information, please do reach out after this webinar and check out our website at risetogetherbayarea.org. We really believe at Rise Together that everyone deserves the opportunity to provide for themselves and their families, yet are very aware that 1 in 4 families in the Bay Area struggle to make ends meet under the current conditions here. So We are all impacted by the housing crisis, whether personally or through knowing someone who just isn't able to make ends meet here due to the high cost of living. We have our workforce either experiencing mega commutes or moving out of the area altogether, and then increasingly individuals experiencing homelessness or on the verge of doing so. But we also believe that we all have the power to change this by working together, and there are large-scale solutions that we can support with a unified voice. So that's really what we're all about. And we're really excited to be partnering with MPH on this series to help inform our partners about policies, tools, and opportunities that they can use to help solve the housing crisis with us in the Bay Area and beyond. So today we're really excited and lucky to have JR Starret with us, NPH's Director of Advocacy and Community Engagement, and he's going to be sharing with us about upcoming state and local ballot initiatives that will have a significant impact on housing solutions and how we can meaningfully get involved in helping those move forward. So a little bit about JR. JR is a seasoned political consultant, having directed winning campaign programs across the country on municipal, state, and federal levels. JR most recently served as the Senior Director of State Government Affairs for Common Sense Media. He was recognized in 2014 as a rising star by Campaigns and Elections magazine, and he's worked with a number of progressive candidates to develop winning electoral strategies as well to help better communities throughout the country. So we're really lucky to have JR with us today. And with no further ado, I'd like to hand it over to JR, and we're going to pause in the middle of the webinar, sort of between sections, to see if there are questions. So please be sure to note your questions. You can type them at any point into the chat box, and we will see those and ask them at the appropriate time when JR takes a pause. All right, JR, with no further ado, please take us over.
Wonderful, Megan, and thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I'm excited to be here today with all of you talking about these opportunities in November. And as Megan said, today we'll be talking about the affordable housing items on the statewide ballot and also the local ballot within the Bay Area in November. Our conversation today is going to start with the state propositions 1 and 2. We'll then take some time for questions, and then we'll finish with local items on the ballot and hold a second round of questions following that. As you can see, it's a very full year for housing on the ballot. We have statewide propositions 1 and 2, as well as 6 local measures in the Bay Area that seek to provide dedicated funding for affordable housing. We also have 4 additional non-dedicated funding items that have an impact on housing that we'll be discussing as well. And without any delay, we can go ahead and jump right in onto our statewide ballot items, propositions 1 and 2. Proposition 1, the Veterans and Affordable Housing Act, seeks to generate $4 billion for the production and preservation of affordable housing. If successful, the funds will be distributed through 8 existing state programs. The multifamily housing program, CalVet Farm and Home Loan Program will actually receive a lion's share of this $4 billion. But funding is also provided for the State Home Purchase Assistance Program, Transit-Oriented Development, and also the State Farm Worker Housing Grant Program. Oh, sorry, my slide ran away from me. Prop 2 is also on the ballot and affects affordable housing. It's titled the No Place Like Home Act. It seeks to redesignate funds from 2004's Prop 63, the millionaire's tax. The $2 billion, if approved, will be for the production of affordable homes for mental health services for people suffering from mental illness and experiencing homelessness. Happy to also report that these 2 campaigns will be working in tandem and campaigning together in November. Sorry, we're having some issues with the slides. The 2 campaigns will be campaigning actively together in November to present one housing package to voters. Going a little bit deeper now into Proposition 1, what we know is that the housing crisis is crushing 1 in 3 Californians who can't afford their rents. People are spending more than 30% of their incomes and as much as 50% of their incomes on housing, no matter how many hours they work. 9 out of the nation's 10 least affordable major metropolitan areas, that's areas with 500,000 or more in population, are here in California. This act seeks to build upon successful private and public partnerships to get homes built quickly. It seeks to dedicate $1.5 billion in funding for the multifamily housing project, $1 billion for the veterans housing projects, and $150 million for transit-oriented development programs, and $300 million for infill infrastructure grant programs as well. The measure will also dedicate $300 million for state farm worker housing grant programs. An interesting caveat of this measure is that we estimate that if passed, the $4 billion could generate up to 137,000 jobs and pump $23 billion into California's economy over the lifespan of the bond. Prop 2, this is the No Place Like Home Act, which seeks to impact homelessness and mental illness. By most estimates, California's homeless population is above 134,000, with a third of these individuals living on the streets with an untreated mental illness. That providing people with a stable place to live and mental health services promotes healthy, stable lives. This measure seeks to invest coordinated care through the housing program that includes mental health and addiction services, medical treatment, case managers, and education and job training. This measure, it really is about wraparound services, and it seeks to leverage existing state funds to continue to build and support supportive housing connected to mental health services and addiction treatment for people living with serious mental illness. Happy to say that polling for both of these measures has been very positive. We've received polling that show that we're well over the simple majority of 50+1 to pass these measures. But we are seeking a mandate, and we want to send a clear message to the next governor, the next administration, that affordable housing must remain a top issue. For that reason, we're going after every single percentage point that we can get. We are running a vigorous campaign that's aggressively seeking endorsements as well as votes. The measure has received a number of key endorsements throughout the state. Nearly 600 endorsements to date have been collected. Few key endorsements from the Bay Area, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, the cities of Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose, MTC ABAG, as well as SEIU State Council, the Building Trades, and many, many more. You can view the full list at the Veterans and Affordable Housing Act.org website. And now a few ways you can actually be involved, should you wish to do so, with the Props 1 and 2 campaign. Has your organization endorsed the measure? If not, endorse today and sign up at veteransandaffortablehousing.org. Encourage others to endorse. Send out newsletters and social media posts, which MPH can provide you content and templates to do so. Host a community event in support of Props 1 and 2. MPH is happy to help and coordinate speakers to come speak at this event for you and your organizations. Become involved with the campaign in your county. Contact your county local lead for the organization. And I'm happy to plant this right here for a minute or so to provide you with the names and contact information for individuals who will be leading the campaign in these respective counties. And with that, I will pause and we can take some questions on Propositions 1 and 2.
Great, thanks, JR. So any questions about these propositions, about getting involved, and where your efforts could be leveraged the most for the most impact? So please send your questions into the chat box and we will start to see them. So one person asking about Prop 10 or Costa-Hawkins. Maybe you could just spend a minute there if you're familiar going over that one as well.
Absolutely. Prop 10, Costa-Hawkins, seeks to repeal the existing Costa-Hawkins law, which requires or regulates how local municipalities are able to pass rent control measures. It is a highly controversial item on the ballot, but one that MPH is happy to endorse. It seeks to be a wholehearted repeal, so it would reestablish local control of the issue, providing what we feel is better rights for tenants through their local government.
Great, thanks. We have one question. If you could, while we're asking questions, just have the previous slide with the contact list up so people can grab. Perfect, thank you. And one question about, is there a set aside for veterans as a separate category?
Yes, there is. There is a dedicated program, a program dedication for the Cal Vets and Home Loan Assistance Program that comes in at $1 billion of the $4 billion allocated by Proposition 1.
Great. Other questions from people? And while we're waiting for some other questions to come in, JR, what do you think are, for community-based organizations that aren't necessarily directly in affordable housing work, that may not be what they do for a living or do as their main mission, what is the best way for folks to support these propositions and get involved?
Certainly. Well, as I said, our goal with this campaign is to win by the largest number possible. We are especially interested in sending a message to the new administration that the housing problem is not solved simply by passing these two measures. It's interesting, these measures seek to boost statewide funds in the wake of 2008's 2008's reorganization of redevelopment. Once redevelopment was taken away, it took out, by most estimates, $2 billion annually of local funding for the production and preservation of affordable housing. These two items collectively together would allocate $6 billion. But obviously, given what we know as far as the housing crisis in California, that's a drop in the bucket for what we need to do to fix this issue. And so we see this as a start with the new administration. So I would say what local organizations can do is look at the endorsement list and help us find endorsements. Local policymakers, community leaders, organizations, as well as what we're seeking right now. Hold information events with your organizations. Collectively, we represent a very large constituency, and certainly getting word out in support of Propositions 1 and 2 is critically important for our effort. So using that power of grassroots energy to connect with your constituencies is critically important. And like I said in the presentation, MPH is happy to help coordinate local speakers, someone to come out to your organization and talk in detail about what these two propositions would do, how the funding would be allocated, and how it has an impact on the local level.
Great. And one other request to show the prop overview slide again while we're talking. Okay. And then what are the top challenges that these campaigns are facing right now?
Sure. I think, well, one of the greatest challenges that we have is campaigning in a very large state with multiple media markets. Because of that, campaigns normally have to reach a very high fundraising threshold to be able to communicate their message. We stand in a great position in that we are polling very well, and we think that we will win this both bonds. But again, for us, this is about winning by the largest margin possible to establish a mandate. So one of our challenges really is word of mouth. We're going to be running a campaign that is highly targeted, that goes after a specific cohort of persuadable voters that we feel we need to win to increase that vote margin. But anything your organizations can offer as far as help and insight with individuals, providing talking points, having people speak to their networks of friends, families, and organization contacts is critically important.
And is there any organized opposition at this time?
We have not had any organized opposition.
Okay. And one more question from the audience. Are these general obligation bonds?
The Prop 1 is a general obligation bond. Prop 2 is actually a revenue bond that rededicates funding from Prop 63, the millionaire's tax from 2004.
Great. And can you just say, for those of us who are not housing wonks, a little bit about what general obligation bonds mean and where the funding's coming from?
Sure. So general obligation bonds on the state level are offset by revenue collected from a number of different issues that the state, from a number of different taxing mechanisms that the state collects. They're different than local general obligation bonds, which are raised primarily through property taxes. General obligation bonds are essentially the state kind of opening up a credit account, but using future revenue generated mostly from actual income taxes.
Okay, great. And the website again, is it veteransforaffordablehousing.org?
Is Vets in Affordable Housing.
Bring it back up. Perfect. And then we have a, oh, there it is, veteransforaffordablehousing.org. Another comment from the audience saying that Prop 2 is very opposed locally by mental health advocates, and wondering about any opposition from mental health advocates at the state level.
Sure. There has been opposition to Proposition 2 from mental health advocates, specifically in Contra Costa County. A number of different mental health organizations have supported the bill as well, or the proposition as well. The fear is that this is a local control issue, that it's taking away existing funding for mental health programs from the local county organizations. What we have seen is that this actually is a redesignation of the funds that allow counties to operate through their existing affordable housing networks and channels to make sure that they are constructing, they're actually building and preserving affordable housing specifically for this constituency. So we certainly don't see this as a local control issue, but just a way that we can redesignate the funds to provide critical housing and supportive services that are needed.
Great, thanks. Any other questions from folks? These are great so far, before we move into the local scene. All right, and one more question here. For organizations who may have projects eligible for this future funding, is there a list of CDFI or others dispersing the funds?
Absolutely. Prop 1, absolutely. And maybe we can actually connect offline. I have my email at the end of this presentation. Without knowing which county you're specifically commenting from, there is opportunity there.
Okay, great. Great. So let's, we can keep the questions coming and continue to note what you'd like to know more about as we move into the next section. And we will start to talk more about what's going on at the local level. Thanks, JR.
You bet. So moving on to the local level, we have 6 local ballot measures that are currently will provide dedicated funding for the production and preservation of affordable housing. These regional measures represent an opportunity at $854 million. But I will say that each of these measures listed on your page has to qualify with voters on a local 2/3 threshold, so 66.67%. For the remaining presentation, we're going to be running through kind of how these campaigns are structured. I'll also list the local contacts for each one of these campaigns for you. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that come up about the local measures. One item that's actually missing on this list is San Francisco's Our City, Our Home, Measure C. Measure C seeks to dedicate an approximate $300 million in affordable housing and homeless services benefits. The reason why I actually left it off is this presentation is mostly geared towards our 2/3 majority measures right now. Measure C actually qualified for the ballot using the public initiative vehicle. So it only seeks to reach a simple majority, 50% plus one vote. And we'll be tracking that as well. And I'm happy to connect offline and provide more information and context for that campaign as well. So moving into the local measures, starting in the South Bay, Santa Cruz Measure H is a $140 million general obligation bond. The campaign is being run on the local level by a broad coalition representing affordable housing, labor, environmental, agriculture, and the business communities. This coalition has been meeting and actively engaging with constituents in all reaches of the county for well over a year. It passed by the Board of Supervisors with unanimous support, which is always a great indication of the life of the bond and the life of the campaign. And our local contact at that campaign, should you want to be involved, is Don Lane, and his email address is at the bottom of this page. We're projecting currently 57% turnout in Santa Cruz. As many of you have been following throughout the year and throughout the primary, turnout is slightly lower than it normally would be in a traditional mid-year election. It's not as low as 2014, which was a historic low. Statewide turnout was at 49%. So we see this being a little bit lower than normal, but certainly better than 2014. We put a win number close to 56,000, 57,000 for Santa Cruz County. San Jose has also placed a $450 million general obligation bond on their local ballot. This will be presented to voters in tandem with a $650 million infrastructure and emergency services bond. The strong local advocacy partner that we have in San Jose is SV at Home, who will be working to support and amplify the efforts of this campaign. And one of the strongest assets that we have is a very well-liked mayor supporting the measure. The local contact is Huascar Castro with SV at Home, and you can reach him at the email address there below. An interesting thing about San Jose is that Mayor Liccardo qualified for a win during the June primary. There is no runoff, so it is a very light top of the ticket. This is going to be an asset for us in the housing community because Mayor Liccardo will champion this bond for us. But it also means that we expect turnout to be slightly lower. In 2014, turnout in San Jose was well below the state average, coming in at 46%. We'll be slightly above that this year, but turnout will still be low. Moving on to the North Bay, Napa County has proposed a 1% transient occupancy tax, a hotel tax, a TOT, across the 6 different jurisdictions in the county. If approved by voters, it'll raise $5 million annually. An interesting thing is that this will have to be run as an independent campaign or as an independent ballot item in each one of the 6 jurisdictions. But will be organized as one campaign throughout the county. Napa County has moved to a vote by mail system. They have 98% of their electorate is vote by mail. We think this will have a definite impact on the race. And our local contact there is Matt Riley with Riley Consulting. His email is listed below. The city of Santa Rosa has placed a $124 million general obligation bond on the ballot. The measure also includes provisions addressing fire rebuild opportunities in the wake of October 2017's devastating fires. It's had a strong support from a broad coalition of organizations, including labor, housing advocates, agriculture, and also environmental organizations. It passed from the City Council with unanimous support, and our local contact organizing that campaign is Brando Rojas. His email is listed below. The turnout in Santa Rosa will be slightly higher than the state average, but we placed the win number somewhere in the range of 33,000. This is a great opportunity to benefit many in the community who are still suffering in the wake of the 2017 fires, as well as a growing homelessness crisis and also affordable housing crisis that is really impacting the city. And finally, the City of Berkeley has placed Measure O on the ballot, a $135 million general obligation bond. This has received strong support from the City Council and the Mayor. We actually have Clifford Moss Agency, which supported Measure A1 in 2016, will be leading the effort on the ground. And the contact for this campaign is Tom Clifford at tom@cliffordmoss.com. Turnout will be slightly slower here as well. And we placed the win number somewhere around 27,000. Berkeley has also moved to increase their real estate transfer tax by 1% on a graduating scale. That will provide an estimated $10 million annually. This is a separate measure that's being presented in tandem with Measure O. The funds that are generated from Measure O and the affordable are in the real estate transfer tax as one housing package for voters. The real estate transfer tax that will be included in this only has to qualify with a simple majority, 50% plus one vote. But the general obligation bond does have to be approved with 66.67% or a 2/3 supermajority. And now just to turn a little bit to how MPH, through our MPH Action Fund, seeks to organize and our advocacy tactics for the 2018 elections. So MPH will be working to organize, support, and create the area-specific communications and outreach opportunities to engage our base. We'll be working through our MPH Action Fund on digital communications program, leveraging our collective Bay Area voices. And we'll also be IDing and researching new supporters through earned media, op-eds, letters to the editors, and editorial board opportunities. We're seeking to place the right message around affordable housing within Bay Area stories and context, and also Speakers Bureau's trainings. If you are interested in participating in one of these trainings, please contact me, and we'd love to have you involved. We're going to offer 5 trainings, 4 in-person trainings, and 1 web-based training over the month of September. They will be conveniently located in North Bay, South Bay, and 2 within kind of the central area. We're also seeking to organize our own internal residents within the affordable housing community. And we are seeking to increase the amount of registrations for affordable housing residents. Currently, we have 52,000 residents who are registered to vote, living and residing in affordable housing communities within these counties. We seek to increase that by 10%, and we seek to turn out affordable housing residents at 60% for the election total. Through our support of Props 1 and 2 and also local measures, we hope to grow our registration base by a little over 5,000 votes. And to do this, we'll employ tactics such as on-site meetings, coffees, speaker series, signage, and multilingual flyers being sent to our affordable housing residents. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions on the local measures or Propositions 1 and 2. I will leave this slide up here with my contact information. But thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, JR. We had a couple of questions come through already, and folks feel free to chat additional questions to us as we're talking. One is, do we know yet how Proposition 1 funds would be delegated to each county and how much that would be? What's the
Sure. So Proposition 1 funds would be allocated through existing state programs. So county housing authorities who are already engaged with these statewide programs could continue to supply or continue to apply and receive funding. So these are HCD programs, these are MHP programs, these are CalVet and home loan programs.
Can you spell those acronyms out for us, JR? Sorry.
Yeah, I think I got them. Yeah, so it's multi-housing program as well as the infill infrastructure grant program, transit-oriented development program, and the California Farm Workers Housing Program, grant program. But again, those are working through existing countywide programs that seek the state funding.
Great, thanks. And it looks like a note that West Marin also has a transit-oriented tax, 4% increase to their TOT on the ballot for November. I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar as well. That's good news for Marin. Perfect. And then one more question about the messaging training, and will there also be, for those of us who are trying to really align and figure out how to talk about housing affordability, through how have you developed your messaging and your talking points? Will you be able to share a guide or talking points with other organizations we can align ourselves with your framing and messaging?
Yeah, absolutely. So the messaging trainings, the Speakers Bureau's trainings that we're going to hold throughout the month of September are a great opportunity not only to be educated on the benefits of Propositions 1, 2, and the local measures, but also the narrative that we're hoping to shape around affordable housing. Speaking broadly, we need to tell the stories of residents. We need to tell the stories of benefits of these critical programs to ensure that we continue to qualify both through the legislative process and the electoral process for these funds for the production and preservation of affordable housing. Speaking specifically to the campaigns and the electoral strategies, what we have seen time and time again is that voters are moved by personal stories. They want to understand the faces of affordable housing, who this will actually benefit, rather than the economics of the issue. And I think, as many policy wonks really like to dive into what funding is available through what program and how it can be leveraged to potentially exploit state and federal funding streams available. What voters have consistently told us is they want to talk about the families, the seniors, the veterans that are impacted by these policies that are presented to them. So that will be all included within our Speakers Bureau's trainings, and they're great opportunities to come and better understand that messaging frame.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, a couple of other questions have come through. Are there any plans to register and mobilize support of voters in affordable housing communities outside the Bay Area, particularly in poorer parts of California, such as Northeast California or the Central Valley?
Great question. So we are working with partners. MPH is a regional organization. We work throughout the 9 Bay Area counties for the purpose of Propositions 1, 2 in this election cycle. We've actually begun to work in Monterey and Santa Cruz County as well. So we're calling ourselves the Greater Bay Area for this election cycle. But we are one organization of a few that are regionally based like this. We have partner organizations, CCRH, as well as SCAMF. CCRH operates in rural counties throughout the state. SCAMF operates in the Inland Empire and the Southern California area, as well as the San Diego Housing Federation and the Kennedy Commission. Those organizations are engaged in this work. They're actively working through affordable housing developers to connect with residents, to register votes, as we are as well, and to also educate on the benefits of Propositions 1, 2. Unfortunately, we don't have local measures in any of these other jurisdictions, only here in the Bay Area. So their message is a little bit more finely tuned and focused on Propositions 1 and 2. But I would say as a industry and an industry focused on advocacy. Affordable housing is very engaged. We see the opportunity that we have this year in Propositions 1 and 2 leading the statewide ballot. And for that purpose, I think we're all putting in a little bit of an extra effort to make sure that affordable housing residents turn out to vote in support for these programs, which they actually benefit from.
Great, thanks. A few more questions have come in about Propositions 1 and 2. The first being, how will general obligation bonds for Prop 1 and for the cities and counties be paid off? What's the plan?
Sure. So a little bit of a different mechanism for both. And for on the Prop 1 in the state level, that is paid back through tax revenue collected by the state. So a number of different resources that the state draws upon to pay that out over time. Local bonds are structured a little bit differently. They actually draw upon a specific amount per assessed value of the property taxes. And they actually amortize normally over 30 years. A few of the bonds that we have that I presented on today on the local level are 26 years. I think one of them actually goes over 30 years. But that is actually how their bond, that is how their debt service and their program is laid out. The benefits of passing a bond is that it allows you to access the funds immediately, paying down the debt service over a number of years. This way, we're able to actually try to dedicate funding rather than, in the millions, single digits, but in the tens of millions and the hundreds of millions early in the program.
Great. And then how might AB 686 and the need for fair housing programs affect the expenditure plans for Prop 1 and 2?
I am unfortunately not familiar and don't have that information in front of me to answer that accurately.
That's okay. Yeah, AB 686 is a housing discrimination bill. Does the person that asked that question want to clarify any further? You can see if they type any further. If not, we can follow up with some additional information on that question. Let's see. So one other question about, while we're waiting to hear about that, where can we find the details, time, dates, and locations of the speaker training?
Great. You can actually go to the MPH website to access this information. It's nonprofithousing.org. Go under the drop-down screen about our campaign and advocacy opportunities, and it'll take you to the Action Fund website. That is where you can find this information.
Perfect. Great. And then a question about suggestions. If someone's city is not yet reflected in the list of those going after housing bonds and yet still needs it, what are some steps folks can take to move their community toward that?
Absolutely. So this is certainly an exciting strategy that's been employed within the Bay Area for a number of election cycles now. It really began in 2015 with Mayor Lee's affordable housing bond, $300 million dedicated to affordable housing. We saw in 2016 communities, Alameda County, Santa Clara County, as well as San Mateo, seek to use electoral strategies to dedicate funding for affordable housing. Santa Clara County passed a bond at $950 million, Alameda County at $580 million, and San Mateo passed a sales tax increase dedicated to the general fund that is going to yield close to $600 million over the term of that increase. Collectively, between 2015 and 2016, we've raised almost $2.5 billion for the production and preservation of affordable housing. And really, this year and the number of opportunities that we have on the ballot are a product of that success. I think our local policymakers have seen other jurisdictions and other areas passing these bonds using the strategy effectively. And I think that that will continue to grow. So to speak directly to your point, certainly please reach out to me. We're always interested in identifying individuals, elected officials, policymakers who are interested in learning more about these electoral strategies and what can be done. We certainly seek to support these organizations, local organizations that seek these solutions, as well as policymakers, and provide all of our guidance and best practices to doing so. So I'd love to connect with you. My information is on the screen to learn a little bit more about your local area.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions from the audience? And feel free to type additional questions in as I just provide some follow-up information. So thank you so much, JR, for providing all of this information about how we can get involved. And I'll just tee you up in a second to sort of give us a summary of the next steps if folks want to get more involved in all of this. But I wanted to also let folks know that we have a third webinar coming up in our series with NPH on how to keep our existing homes affordable. So that's going to be on October 22nd and really focused on AB 1521. So that's strengthening the state's housing preservation law, ensuring that affordable homes can remain affordable for the long term. So we'll have Danielle from the California Housing Partnership Corporation on the phone with us to learn how we can use that law to ensure that existing affordable homes in your city or your county stay that way. So again, please, we'll send out a link to register for that, but please also register for that for October 22nd, 10 to 11 a.m. And then if you want to learn and go even further into housing affordability, and yet you, like us, have found it a bit mystifying as far as how to get more meaningfully involved, we've created a forum for you. So next month, on Thursday, September 27th, from 9 to 12:30 at the San Francisco Public Library, we're hosting an almost sold-out forum. So go register today. We'll send the link out to everybody. And JR will be with us again, speaking to how we can get more involved in state ballot initiatives. We'll also have Senator Jim Deal with us, opening up with how we can get more involved in housing affordability at the state level. We'll have a renters' rights presentation by Tony Samara at the Director of Land Use and Housing at Urban Habitat. We'll have someone speaking more directly to Prop 10, the potential of repealing Costa-Hawkins. We will have Gloria Bruce from EBHO talking about local advocacy making a difference. We'll have Julie Combs, Santa Rosa City Council member, talking about CASA, the regional game-changing solutions that are being produced by a wide coalition of folks. We will have a focus on suburban poverty and the housing crisis by Barhai, and then the promise of inclusionary ordinances and why they're worth pursuing at the local level with Will White from United Way Bay Area. So we're really excited about that program and to just dive deeper into how we can all be looking at and many different solutions, many different angles at local and state efforts for housing affordability. Okay, so we will send out both the slides and a link to the recording of this webinar so that you can revisit any of this information, plus a link to the next webinar and our housing forum for registration to everyone who participated today. And it looks like we've got one last question. Can you type in the URL link where we can register for the training? So, JR, that is NPH Housing and nonprofit housing.
That is
nonprofit.org. Perfect. Great. So, JR, just a maybe summary statement on how folks can take some next steps with the statewide propositions or their local propositions and get involved.
You bet. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to present to you today. On the screen currently is my contact information. Please feel free to contact me if you're interested in participating in one of our Speakers Bureau's trainings, as well as interested in being dialed into one of the local campaigns. We'll go all the way back here to our Props 1 and 2 slide. These are our local contacts organizing campaign activities on the ground for Propositions 1 and 2. Again, our focus right now and how you can best be involved is to help us court endorsements from local policymakers, as well as community leaders and organizations. You can also host an event in support of Propositions 1 and 2. NPH is happy to coordinate speakers for that event. and then become involved in the local campaign in your county. As we near campaign season, a number of opportunities will be present to provide assistance within these counties to support Propositions 1 and 2. We would appreciate your help and your support. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, JR. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope that everybody on the call today will go activate their networks and get at least 100 people out there to vote for these. So together we could impact about 4,000. So let's get 4,000 votes between all of us or more, and take action together with a unified voice. And again, if you aren't yet involved in Rise Together, please do visit our website. There's a space where you can join us and become a partner. And continue to fight against poverty and for shared prosperity in the Bay Area. So thanks everybody for joining us and for the rich conversation, all of your excellent questions, and thanks so much, JR, again for providing all this information. We look forward to working with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll send out information soon. Talk soon.